Dr. Macon LaCornu of Gilbertson and LaCornu.
Embrace your smile.
EmbraceYourSmile.com.
If you are at least 55 years of age and have a torn and irreparable rotator cuff, you may be eligible for a no-cost clinical trial at Southern California Orthopedic Institute's Valencia Clinic. Call 818-901-6600, extension 1525, or visit rotatorcuffstudy.com to learn about a study of an investigational shoulder implant. Call 818-901-6600, extension 1525, or visit rotatorcuffstudy.com. Sponsored by Micro Air Surgical Instruments.
Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. Some showers expected this afternoon with a high of 61 degrees. Clouds overnight with a low of 48. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 67. Gilbertson and LaCornu Orthodontics is offering a Mother's Day Invisalign special Tuesday, May 8th. Save up to $500 off of comprehensive Invisalign treatment and get free teeth whitening for your best and brightest smile. Visit EmbraceYourSmile.com to schedule your free consultation.
This is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Hey, welcome to the show, the Total Financial Hour, special edition, folks. Thanks for joining us and being with us on your hometown station, KHTS. I'm Arif Halaby. Thanks, as I mentioned, for being with us, because as a special edition, occasionally we have guests, and that's exciting because it mixes it up a little bit. Our focus is always your financial well-being, helping you get out of debt, manage money, plan for retirement, live a healthy and safe life. Believe it or not, that's right for you and your family, not what the government decides the way you should live as if it's in a box. And our goal is to keep it so that you have a life where you make the decisions and you're in control. Because of a special edition for some of you joining us on Facebook Live, and others of you, of course, are going to watch the recorded version, you're going to see my special guest, Eric Early, for California Attorney General. He's a gentleman that we've researched, of course, looked at the cornerstone of what his beliefs are, what we're pushing for. And believe it or not, Mr. Becerra, our current Attorney General, I don't know enough about his qualifications. And you might say, well, of course, I thought you did some research, Eric. No, it's because they don't exist. It's because for him to be the Attorney General, it's a political appointment. So we're going to talk and discuss a little bit more about your family's future and the whole idea of keeping you focused with Mr. Eric Early. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Thanks for having me, Arif.
You're welcome. I'm very excited about having you on the show because California's families, the job creators, we see a lot of pressure happening because of the current policies coming out of Sacramento. Tell me what you're thinking is a solution. Where do you see as the biggest problem and the biggest concern?
Well, we've had years and years and years of one-party rule up there in Sacramento, and there are so many big problems. And we need some common sense Republicans to get back up there and start taking the reins of power and start doing what needs to be done, the massive lift of changing the damage that has been done for years and years and years. That's why I'm running. I saw one thing after another thing, these terrible bills that are emptying our prisons of violent felons long before their times expire.
We've seen it here. We've seen actual crimes committed by people that should have been in prison and had their sentences not been changed by the governor and the Democrat legislature. Folks, this is actually folks breaking into your homes, stealing from you. These are folks that should have been in prison, not people that should be out in the streets.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a general example of what happens when you have people in power too long. There's an arrogance that takes hold, and the bills that have been coming out of Sacramento just show the arrogance. They sold us one a while ago on the subject we're just talking about called Proposition 47. The prior Attorney General, and the present Attorney General Becerra is following her lead, is responsible for drafting, all Attorney Generals are responsible for drafting the ballot and title summary on the propositions voters see and read when they go to the polls. The last Attorney General wrote that Proposition 47, the title she gave it was the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act.
What a bunch of baloney.
Okay, so we all go to the polls, the good people of California, and we read what this proposition is about. Of course, we want our neighborhoods and our schools
that
safe, so
sounds
we
great.
vote for it. Well, what did Proposition 47 do? It raised the amount from $400 to $950 that somebody can steal without getting anything happening to them.
We have seen criminals. I have friends in the police department and that work security and retail. They have seen criminals in there with calculators.
Yeah.
Making sure that they are stealing less than $950.
This is what we have going. I speak to store owners. I speak to law enforcement up and down the state, some of the best and brightest and most dedicated people you'll ever meet in your life. And we can't stand what's going on because crime is on the rise thanks to us being sold the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. We have to do whatever we can to roll back what Proposition 47's done. They did the same thing with Proposition 57. That also had the name SAFE in it.
Yes.
And 2 months ago, a state court judge up north said, well, there's nothing in Proposition 57 that prevents the early parole of up to 10,000 sexual predators on the streets. This is why I'm running. We have to start rolling back this stuff. We need common sense back in government. We need to protect our citizens from this madness that's gone on for way, way, way too long. There's other issues I'd love to talk to you about. The sanctuary madness, the epidemic, I would say, of mental illness and homelessness that's just all over the state right now.
Well, the city of Santa Clarita is going to be voting, and if it's not this week, it's going to be in the next week on their Tuesday, whether or not to opt out of the sanctuary city mess that the state of California opted in for.
Yeah.
Purely, you guys, you have to understand this. It is against the law. The state of California is doing nothing short of the same thing the slaveholding states did, which is bucking the system. Not just a separation of powers or taking a look at what the states can do versus the federal government and the Constitution, but literally the state of California is thumbing its nose, almost in some respects openly challenging the federal government, thinking that the people, you, will support it.
Yeah.
And that's not the case, folks. You need to stand up.
Let me talk about this sanctuary state, the sanctuary state madness. You know, I'm not a politician. At least I wasn't until last October. I've been a practicing attorney for 25 years, fighting for clients in many states around the country, including everywhere in California. And I just, one day I woke up last year and heard we were going to be a sanctuary state, and that was really the tipping point for me. Couldn't take it anymore. I'm lucky enough I own and run a firm of 25 lawyers, and it gives me the ability to focus everything now on running and campaigning. And the sanctuary state law, what it does is, it first of all, the title of the law is a misnomer.
It is completely.
It should be called the Illegal Immigrant Felon Protection Act.
That's exactly what it is, you guys. Let's understand what it is, please.
It is being used purely and solely to protect people who came here illegally. But not only have they come here illegally, they've been committing crimes, oftentimes violent crimes, since they got here.
It's not for the little old lady who's sitting down, or the mom who's pushing the stroller with 2 kids. It's not her.
It's not being used to protect the 2 million moms and pops that came here illegally, that haven't been breaking the law since they got here, that have been working hard to raise their families, their kids in our state. It's purely being used, exclusively being used, to protect these felons and other criminals who have been committing these crimes after they got to California illegally. What the law does is it prevents our state and local law enforcement from working with federal law enforcement, ICE, from outing these criminals and getting them out of our country. And no country and no state should have any obligation to take care of somebody who's not only here illegally, but who's been committing crimes since they got here. And yet Mr. Becerra treats those kind of people as if they're his best friends. Jerry Brown, Kevin DeLeon. This is the madness that we have going on up there. And I got to tell you, one of the greatest things I've seen since I've been involved in this campaign is there's been an uprising. There's been a prairie fire. It started with the brave people of Los Alamitos. It spread around Southern California like a prairie fire. It spread down to San Diego. Now it's spreading north. It's about to go through Santa Clarita tonight, which I think is wonderful. I hear it's going through Costa Mesa tonight also. This is going to take over the whole state, and I support them every step of the way. And it's people who have had enough of this one-party arrogance, and they're now taking democracy in their own hands. And Mr. Becerra, Mr. DeLeon, these other far-left people running Sacramento have stepped on a hornet's nest, and they don't know what to do about it.
Here's what they do. I'm okay if you think blue is better than green. I'm okay if we argue, we discuss, you like this color, but don't be dishonest. And this is what they're doing, Eric, and I'm seeing this time and again. They are conflating. When we say illegal aliens, they say immigrants. You hate immigrants. You know, George Washington was an immigrant. You know, and they make up this baloney.
Yeah.
Folks, there is a difference. Ask the far left. Ask these leftists if, in fact, illegal immigrants and immigrants are the same. Now, they will say, oh, yes, they are. Folks, they are not.
Arif, you're sitting here talking to the son of 2 legal immigrants to
Me
this
too.
country.
My dad came to this country
So
in
I guess you
1964.
and I hate our parents, according to the left version of things.
Some of the biggest proponents of getting rid of the bad guys that are illegal, it shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
So when they crash into your car, and I've been a victim of that, I can't tell you how many times, of people without insurance, no license, not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
If they weren't here, that car wouldn't have been there, and it wouldn't have crashed into my car driving down the street when it was parked on the side of the road.
You know,
right? Look.
And well, you know, and they love to say that we're then racist. That's the favorite word
Of
that's
course.
used against us.
Yes, I
which
love
of
that.
course we are not. And one thing, one example that I think your listeners will find interesting. You know, I speak to a lot of Hispanic American citizens, and what's amazing to me is they are the most vocal against illegal immigration to our country.
You're exactly. They are the victims, folks. When you go to these neighborhoods where illegal immigrants, who do you think they prey on? Who do you think the criminals prey on? Now, law enforcement will tell you, well, if we don't make it a sanctuary state, they're not going to report crimes because they're going to be worried about deporting people.
Not
Listen,
the law enforcement I speak to.
Zero. That's right. Me too.
Yeah.
They will tell you, the street guys, not the politicians, not the chiefs of police and sheriffs. The street officers will tell you, listen, they have no problem. They know the law enforcement guys aren't going to arrest them.
Yeah.
They want to get that person in apartment 6B. They want to get him out of here.
Well, the most vulnerable, ironically enough, to what the Libby Shafts of the world have done, for example, and what the far left media, the left media, the mass media has done, is that when these illegal immigrant felons are given warning that ICE is coming after
you
them,
believe she
where do
did
they
that?
go and hide? They go and hide with the most vulnerable population,
right.
which is the other illegal immigrant population, those who are here and have not been committing crimes since they got here. So, you know, this whole uprising against the sanctuary state is a fabulous thing to say, and I just want to make it clear to all the listeners out there. I am running this race for all law-abiding citizens of all races, creeds, colors, nationalities, and sexual orientation. If you're a law-abiding citizen, Eric Early will be your best friend in office. If you're not law-abiding, I'm not going to be your friend. And if you're not law-abiding and you're not even an American citizen, then ICE needs to get you and take you out of the country.
It's amazing to me the depth of arrogance that one group in Sacramento, when they're taking monies from the far left labor unions, when they're taking money from the illegal immigrant attorneys, who will say, I'm an immigrant attorney. No, bud, listen. My family came here as legal immigrants. 50, 60 of them my dad rescued from Lebanon in the middle of the Civil War. But they came here legally.
Yeah. Listen, my campaign manager, I won't say his name, he may not want to say said, his family came from Iran. They came over here, and they had to leave because they could not get their papers. He had to go back, and his whole family had to leave. For 5 more years, they had to wait to go through the process of becoming legal American citizens. They then came through, they had all their paperwork, and he's an incredible person, my campaign manager. They waited in line, they did what they had to do. Republicans salute all legal immigrants from all parts of the planet. Just come here legally. We are a financially bankrupt state. We cannot take an endless flood of illegal immigrants. Every country, every state, every homeowner has a right to lock its doors, or his or her or their doors at night.
That's right.
And the fact that we are being told that we should have an endless flood of illegal immigration, which is what Mr. Becerra says by his actions, the man does not believe in borders. My other opponent, Dave Jones, he does not believe in borders. These people will pander to anybody for a vote. They have no scruples. We need to get control of our country. We have a right to get control of our country, and that's all we're trying to do.
I want to ask you a few more questions as we continue here in just a minute. Mr. Eric Holder, if you know who that gentleman is, former Attorney General, was hired by the state of California. It'd be interesting to find out what his wage is, folks. Find out what we're paying him, millions of dollars, him and his law firm, to fight against the Trump administration and everything that the Trump administration does. Listen, let's be clear. I don't know how you feel about this, so I'm going to throw it out there. I don't agree with 100% of the things that my wife does. So you think I'm going to agree with 100% of the things that my president does? Now you might say, oh, Arif, that's so... Listen, the bottom line, you guys, is I don't want to be his friend. It'd be nice to meet him just because I meet a president. I don't care. I'd meet anybody that's a president. It'd be fun once at least. But I don't want to be his neighbor. I don't want to be your business partner. Just fix my country. Just get out of the way. Stop making trouble, right? Stop creating these laws and rules, and every time we turn around... Eric, it seems like between some of these environmental laws, if the world is, every time they turn around, there's a new crisis. If it was a crisis, why wasn't it a crisis 2 years ago or 5 years ago? Why didn't the last administration, if something like Proposition 65, this is a perfect example. You walk into any store, restaurant, gas station, Proposition 65 from, 10 years ago. There are chemicals known to the state of California in this premises that will cause cancer. What was once a good idea, they just put the sign everywhere.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, these laws are passed for a worthless cause.
Listen, one of the things I'm running for is I want to get government out of people's lives. Government is so intrusive in all our lives. Government should protect the people. Government should make sure that the streets are clean and that we're all safe and living in safe homes, and that we have good schools for our kids to go to. But these people up in Sacramento, they want to tell us everything we should do. They want to tell us what we should say. They want to tell us what we should think. They want to tell us how we should act. It's been said by somebody that these folks that I'm running against and this whole sort of, thought process that I'm running against, they want everybody to look different, but they want everybody to sound exactly the same. And you know what? This is America. We have our opinions. We're allowed to say what we want to say. We shouldn't be tarred and labeled and feathered by saying something that this group of politically correct crazies really have been pushing on us and forcing down our throats for so many years now. And so we need less government, not more government. And then I could go into the whole tax situation.
Yeah, we want to talk about that after the break here in a second.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier. It's almost as if they have so diminished the word racist.
Oh,
folks, that is an evil word. That is an individual that believes one is better or worse because of their color of their skin, something they had no choice of, not the content of their character. Does that sound familiar? Right? Everybody's worried about... when I was a police officer, I used to speak in recruitment. I would go to the different schools, high schools and colleges mostly, and I would speak at them. And you would see, you'd go in the cafeteria to grab something to eat. You'd see over in that corner were the Chinese students, and then the Korean students over here, and the black students over there. Heaven forbid you would call a Chinese student a Japanese student. Oh my gosh, they hated each other. And a school that was designed to be an integrated approach, today there are dorms propagated by African American students to be for only African American students. Folks, that was unheard of. How did that become normal? All of a sudden, we have people segregating themselves, and it's the left that thinks that race matters. It's the left that thinks you should be put in boxes and corners and labels.
Listen, the left is completely race obsessed.
It's amazing.
And I'm sure you would agree with me on this, Arif. I find, and I've found throughout my life, that the people that are the loudest and repeatedly using the word racist and calling others racist, they're usually the racists. And it's amazing, but they just keep throwing that word out there. And I got to tell you something else about, for example, those the dorms you just mentioned. Kanye just came out, and I got to tell you,
brave man.
He is a brave man. And I got to tell you, a lot of Republicans are standing up and saluting Kanye right now, because he came out and said, listen, just because you're black, you don't have to vote for a Democrat.
That's right.
In fact, their policies have been keeping the African American people down for so many years. And that is so brave of him to do that, because especially in that entertainment culture, they come out and they savage you, and
That's
he's
right.
getting savage for it, and he's still sticking up for what he believes in, what he thinks, and it's really
take a look at the
it's
far
a
left.
fabulous thing to say. People like me, I want everybody to do as best as they can.
That's right.
We're in this great American country, this great system created by our founders. I want everybody of all races, creeds, colors to use all their God-given talents to go as far as they could go. We should not be holding back groups of people, which the left does in a very insidious kind of way.
I think the moment they lost the affirmative action conversation, they had to go down a road of starting to label and parse people out into their little groups. What's incredible to me, Dennis Prager made this comment, I think, in the last week, and he called it projection, which was, if you're racist and that's how you see people, you constantly see it everywhere. It's almost like the spouse that is cheating. Right.
You're
that's right.
projecting
Exactly
on
right.
everybody.
The spouse that is cheating says, "Oh, you're cheating." You're like, "Wait a second." But they're hypersensitive because they know. A business associate was involved. A friend of mine was involved with his business associate, and he said, "This guy was accusing me of stealing from the business every time we turned around." And it turned out he'd been stealing from the business.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
you realize the same thing happens, that projection mindset. Folks, when we come back, I'm going to get into a couple of things. Number one, the financial standpoint. If you've listened to our show for more than 15 minutes, you know that we have a problem with the pensions here in the state of California. Our budgets, we're spending more money than we make, and we're taxing everything that walks, including, surprise, your water. Did you understand that? Ask Native Americans. When you start taxing land and water, they think it's wacky. They're like, wait a second, this was a gift. And now we're adding taxes on top of taxes to tax you for the taxes. We'll be back in just a minute as we continue with your place for News Talk and Information. Remember, this is a special edition with Eric Early, our candidate for California Attorney General for the GOP, which is of course, the Republican side. Top two vote getters are going to go on to the
June 5th, big day. I need
huge
your
day,
votes, folks.
Huge
June
day,
5th.
folks. When we go on to the primary, from the primary on to the general, when we come back. Your place for News Talk and Information. I'm Arif Halaby on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS. Come join me, Arif Halaby, for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Every Tuesday at noon, we uncover ways to help you manage your money, get out of debt, and prepare for your retirement. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Are you not sure if you can retire yet? Listen to us and learn about tips for savings, retirement strategies, and so much more. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
And now, a cooking tip from Keith Mowry from Bob's Country Meats. Ribs were made for the barbecue, but here's a great cooking tip.
The best way I like to cook the ribs is in the oven, cover them about an hour, 350, then put them on the barbecue for about 15 to 20 minutes, turn them a few times just to get them nice and brown.
Ribs, chicken, tri-tip, pork chops, turkey, steaks, even exotic game like buffalo and ostrich. For the tastiest ribs in town, visit Bob's Country Meats on Soledad in Canyon Country.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Remember when you and your sweetheart would go ice skating, gliding across the ice hand in hand? Well, relive those magical moments at Ice Station Valencia during any of our daily public sessions. The Ice Station Coffee Club, our Monday to Friday noontime skate for adults only, is a great place to socialize while getting in healthy ice skating exercise. For beginners, there's a free skating lesson every Tuesday and Thursday. Ice Station, across the street from Valencia High. Call 775-8686 or check icestation.net for ice skating fun.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
This is your place for news, talk, and information, your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us. If you're on Facebook Live, you're watching us live as we're going through the process of learning a little bit and almost kind of having a conversation, but also learning a little bit about Eric Early, candidate for Attorney General. Listen, there's a reason that I have him on my shows. It isn't because we agree 100%. For some of you, you have to understand that you can pick one or two areas or arguments. I get it. But when you understand that the government should be out of your life, the more you want them in your life, the more you want them regulating things, telling you what to say and do you understand at the end of the story, they control things, they control you. You don't need or want that if you're an American, because that's not what we fought for. That's not what people died for. They died for a chance, not a guarantee, for an opportunity, not a promise of results, but a promise of opportunity. Keep that in mind, because the more the state of California looks like a socialist government, it's really a socialist experiment. That's what's been taking place the last 4 years, is an opportunity to see if socialism can take fire from across this country. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen. We are in debt in this state like nobody's business. Where are we at now? Let me give you an example. When you add the state, the county, pension debt, we are just shy of $1 trillion. We are $950 billion in debt. Just so you understand that, just be clear, that's millions of dollars for every man, woman, and child right here in California. And that's debt that has to be paid. Someone's going to pay it. Attorney General, have anything to say about that? What can we do?
Well, I got to tell you, it's really very surprising to me. Maybe it's not so surprising that in the race, you've got a governor's race, which is the governors are the ones that really control the numbers here. There's very little being said about this exploding debt that we are sitting on top of. It's a time bomb. There's something as Attorney General that I want to look into when it comes to that. You know, in the Attorney General's office in California, we have over 1,000 attorneys on the state's payroll. A lot of brilliant attorneys up there. A lot of attorneys looking to use their brilliance for great things, which has not happened in this overly politicized year of Javier Becerra. I want to do a deep dive, and I want to create an advisory council, some of the best and brightest, to look and see if any of our tax structure might be unconstitutional. I want to look at that. Another thing I want to look at is the same thing with business overregulation. I want to see if any of that could be argued to be unconstitutional. You know, one thing, for example, that I find outrageous, quite honestly, in California we have the CEQA laws. CEQA, that's our environmental laws here. And of course, all of us want a clean environment. We don't like polluters, and we have so much gorgeous natural beauty throughout this wonderful state of ours that needs to be protected. But you have these, let's almost call them rings of attorneys They've mastered the art of what I call CEQA abuse. I'm not the only one to call it CEQA abuse. Others do too. They see a developer who's building a property, who's creating many jobs for the folks working on the construction of the property, and creating even more jobs for the folks that'll be working in the stores and the buildings and whatnot that will be created. And as they're about to start, breaking ground, suddenly these CEQA abuse lawyers and their clients, they swoop in and they freeze the entire development, sometimes for years and years and years.
Yes.
And what they do is they use these CEQA laws to extort huge fortunes from these builders, these developers, these contractors. Many times it forces these folks to just go out of business, not create what they're going to create. All those jobs
And
that
they
would
just
have
go
come
somewhere
are
else.
gone.
They go do something else.
Or they go to other states.
Yeah.
And this is another thing that's really impacting our state now. The largest tax-paying base in our state, the folks that obviously make the most money, they're leaving our state.
Where do you think the Silicon Valley multimillionaires and billionaires live? Do you think their residence is here in the state of California, when a majority of their income is unearned income? Dividends, stock purchases, stock options, stock sales, okay? I'm going to keep it simple. They have a wage like you. They go to work for, $500,000 a year. That's a lot of money. It's earned in the state of California. It's paid in the state of California. But where is their residence? Washington State, Nevada, Lake Tahoe. So that means the $500,000, that's taxed as California income. Great. But the $5, $10, $15, $20 million and more is not taxed in California. It is taxed outside or nothing.
Yeah. So, for example, I spoke to someone a couple weeks ago. I was talking to him. I thought he still lived here. He said, "Eric, I'd love to vote for you, but I live in Texas."
That's right.
And he said, "Oh, by the way, all the money that I was paying in income tax in California is now putting all my kids through college here in Texas because he's not paying that money in Texas."
I had a friend that moved his business from Woodland Hills to Henderson, Nevada, about 4 years ago. He took 30 of the 33 employees with him.
Yeah.
He left 2 behind and 1 didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And in doing so, the money he saved in taxes has not built him just one home, but it's built him 2 homes, including one which is a very, very costly home, and a building for his new office. Just in 4 years, he has saved money. Now, you might say, well, they have gambling. I get it. Okay, so we need some sort of tax. But you can't chase away the people that are employing the people.
It's those folks who pay the most in taxes, they're leaving. The businesses that you were just alluding to, businesses are either fleeing our state or they're not coming here in the first place.
That's right.
Tesla was going to build its large battery processing manufacturing plant in California. It went to Nevada.
Right over the border. You understand that
jobs.
it's just over the border. They drive a truck and in half an hour they're back in California.
Hundreds of great jobs
That's
gone,
right.
for probably thousands, who knows, gone from California. Toyota, I believe, is leaving California.
Done. They're in Plano, Texas.
Yeah. And
Nestle,
this
Virginia.
is going on and on. So this not only impacts all of our wallets, this impacts our ability to get great, long-term, good-paying, solid jobs for our families. Something has to be done about it. In California, this Democratic one-party regime that's been in power for far too long, their only answer is to keep raising taxes and taxes. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard about this gas tax, which when all is said and done is going to put at least 12 more cents of tax on each gallon of gas. I've heard it could go up as high as about 40 cents a gallon when all is said and done.
Unbelievable.
We can't afford those taxes. Carl DeMaio in San Diego has been spearheading a gas tax repeal.
That's right.
They just submitted, I believe yesterday, almost 1 million signatures supporting the repeal. This shows you what's going on in this state. And Carl, by the way, is one of the people endorsing me. I'm very honored to have his endorsement. Nice. The fact that Carl can get 1 million signatures, the fact that cities, counties, townships all around our state are opting out of the sanctuary state law and or joining in the federal government's lawsuit against our state for saying that because they're arguing the federal government, the sanctuary state law is unconstitutional, which it is. The fact that all these people are coming together, you see these groundswells all over the place.
I think it's a time. There's a movement.
This is a time. June 5th is a big day at the polls, and I believe that we're going to have people from all political persuasions going to those polls
That's right.
and voting for some common sense to come back to Sacramento.
It's incredible to me. I get it. We have a different culture. I've been around many, many states. I don't know, 30 probably. And I understand that California is different. It's a different culture, different feel. Some will say more progressive, more in tune. I get all of that. I'm born and raised here, born at Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital. So I get it. Can't be more LA than me. But you don't understand when you take away the heart of the human being for being creative, being involved. When you lose Nestle, and Nestle takes thousands of jobs by the time it's all said and done, and they go to Virginia, and Virginia says, hey, listen, we'll give you land, 10 years, no taxes, and we'll build a building, or we gave you a building. Nestle said goodbye. Here's what happened. The state of California in 2015 borrowed money and couldn't pay it back. So they went to all of us employers, and they fined every single employer, whether you were 1 or 1,000 employees. They fined me $150. The next year, they still didn't pay their bills. So they fined me $175 per employee. The first time, Toyota said, we're out of here. We're leaving Torrance, and we're going to Plano, Texas, because California is not going to get it fixed. The second year, Nestle gave them one year to figure it out. California didn't do it. The next year was $175 per employee. Now, I have 8 employees. That's one thing. But when you're somebody like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 employees, where do you go?
Yeah.
You're saying, I'm not going to stick around, and they left.
That's, I employ approximately 30 people. I make payroll every 2 weeks. And so I see the way it affects businesses. And this is another reason why we need a different voice. We need somebody who understands business. We need a real lawyer up there.
Tell me about
Mr.
Becerra. That's important.
The man is a make-believe lawyer.
That's right.
He's got a law degree. He got out of law school in approximately 1990 or so. He did 2 years of legal aid.
Legal aid.
And then he went into politics, and he never looked back. The man is a political hack. In fact, I'm the only real practicing attorney in this race. I'm the only candidate in this race who has never lived off the government. I'm the only candidate in this race who owns and operates a business. It's time to get common sense back to Sacramento. And what I'd say to your listeners is, and I know your listeners know this, there's nothing in the Constitution that says in order to be a politician, you have to be a professional politician. No, there's nothing like that. In fact, the way the founders drew up our great country, this is a land of the people, by the people, and for the people. And it's for people like me to come out of the private sector, bring our knowledge to government, bring our experience to government, use it to help make the lives of all of us better, try and improve government, and then get out. And this is me. We need somebody that's not a politician up there, and this is why, I'm so glad I jumped in this race. It's been such a rewarding experience, but we need a big, bold, new change in Sacramento. These tired old politicians like Javier Becerra and this other character named Dave Jones, who's our insurance commissioner, who's also running for the attorney general position. These people are the same old, same old. They haven't done anything for years except try and improve their political resumes. It's time that they get voted out of office. Good luck to them. Maybe they'll be able to get a real job out there. Who knows? But it's time to get them out of politics. California needs a major change. It's why I'm running. I've got a lot of great ideas, and I know I can start impacting things for the better in this state.
Hey,
it's a big job. It's a hard job, but it can be done.
How do people get a hold of you? Because this is important. We need folks that are interested in supporting you. I want you to donate money. I want you to get involved. I want you to walk the streets. I want you to talk about the real issues that are impacting you that the Attorney General can make a difference in.
Thanks, Arif. All of that support would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Donations are always appreciated. What you learn as a politician is donations are what make the wheels turn in these kind of campaigns. I'm at www.ericearly.com, EARLY.com. Please take a look at the website. It'll take you to the Facebook page and all the other things we have going on out there. It'll show you my endorsements, for example. I've been endorsed by incredible people. Orange County Sheriff Sandra Hutchins endorsed me a week after Becerra threatened her, which was an outrage, by the way.
And that's not normal, folks, for a sitting sheriff to get involved early enough. But when Javier Becerra came in and said, I'm going to threaten you, I was pretty shocked. I mean, that's pretty gutsy. This guy doesn't have any. Well, it's like they lost their compass.
On his part,
it
wasn't gutsy. He just didn't know what the heck he was talking about.
They don't seem to grab
take any guts on his part. Former District Attorney of Los Angeles County, Steve Cooley, endorsed me. He came within an inch of beating Kamala Harris. He's just a great man. Darrell Isis endorsed me. Mimi
Darryl.
Walters endorsed me.
Like Mimi, sure.
President Reagan's Secretary of State, George Shultz, endorsed me, which is amazing. Senate Republican leader Pat Bates has endorsed me. And it goes on and on. We can do this. I've got other issues. I don't know how much time we have.
We got a little bit more time. I want to learn about the homeless issue as well.
Well, good. That's where I was going.
Yeah, that's important to us.
Listen, we have something that I call the three-headed scourge of severe mental illness, homelessness, and prescription drug abuse. We have a President Attorney General who hasn't done a darn thing about it. Nothing. We have his Democratic competitor, Dave Jones, hasn't said a word about doing anything about it. These issues mean a tremendous amount to me. We have people out there now who are time bombs living on the street. They're severely mentally ill. We need to do a deep dive. Another thing I want to do, I want to get the best and the brightest in the mental health care industry and law enforcement together, so that we can scour the world to see success stories on how to deal with these things. We have to get homelessness under control. Nobody can debate, honestly, that the great majority of those living on the street, not everybody, but the great majority, are mentally ill, severely mentally ill.
So what do we do? Because the 5150 laws were created when Ronald Reagan was governor.
Yeah.
He was sued by the ACLU and forced to release folks from the institutions that were holding them when they were mentally ill. It used to be a thing that the law enforcement and healthcare professionals would commit somebody. Today, difficult to do.
This is what we'll do when Eric Early's Attorney General, Arif. We are going to start looking seriously at coming up with homes again for the severely mentally ill, where they can be involuntarily committed. Involuntary, it's a big word, but they will never go involuntarily. And they have to be in there for as long as they have to be in there. And they have to be taken care of by the medical professionals. Right now, the largest mental institutions in our state are our prisons. They're not set up for that purpose. And then you might ask, where are we going to get the money for that, Arif? And I've got some ideas about who we're going to go after for the money. Let's just say it's in the private sector, and it's companies that have made tens of billions of dollars off of these people.
And when you're shifting the tax dollars away from the prisons and the acuteness when they go into the emergency rooms and you have response over and over again. We see it here in Newhall. We see it in downtown L.A. The response for law enforcement and ambulance personnel regularly. The man's not breathing. They get there, okay, yes, he is. He's just passed out. There are dollars that are wasted regularly. When an RA, when a rescue ambulance is responding to a homeless guy that's asleep on the railroad tracks or somewhere else, of course they have to. But that means that person is taking an ambulance away from somebody else who is in need, from a car accident. Now there's later response. From somebody who has a heart attack. Now they can't get there in time.
Let me say this, Arif. After many, many years, when I'm elected, we're going to have a friend of law enforcement in the Attorney General's office. I'm going to do whatever I can to get the funding, the necessary funding for law enforcement, because they're all so cash-strapped right now. I have ideas on how to do that as well. Going back to the mental illness and homelessness situation, we're going to find a way to raise the money from the private sector, whether it comes from negotiation or threatened lawsuits or even lawsuits against some of these mega entities that have profited to the tune of tens and tens of billions of dollars in this mental health industry, who have helped foist this problem upon us. The money's going to come. We're going to build those. We're going to do what it takes to bring in money into the state, to bring those mental health care facilities where people can be involuntarily committed for as long as need be, for them to get their own care, for them to be able to not live on the street anymore.
And to get a
for
consistent level of
society,
care, right?
For our people to be protected, for our kids to be able to go to school again and not worry about some severely mentally ill kid opening fire on them. We got to protect our kids in school. We got to protect our parents whose kids are in school. You know, I used to drop my kids off at school when they were younger. They're 30 in their 30s and 20s now. I didn't have to worry about what they have to go through now. These are big issues for me, folks. I care deeply. I think you can hear it by the way I'm saying, by the way I'm speaking. I care deeply about all these issues. It's time to get a new voice in Sacramento. I could really use your support, and I could really use your votes on June 5th. It's a big day, and people from any party can vote for me on June 5th.
And website one more time. We're going to take a quick break afterwards here.
www